valientes, ¿cómo están? Bienvenidos a este nuevo video de Brillando con Valor. En esta oportunidad estoy en Phoenix, Arizona, en el Congreso de Adicción Sexual. Y quédense conmigo porque tengo muchas cosas interesantes que contarles. Bueno, valientes, quiero presentarles a mi amiga Kim Miller. Ella es una terapeuta especializada en tratamiento de adicción sexual, es terapeuta especializada en EMDR y es especializada en una nueva corriente de terapia que se llama Somatic Experience, experiencia somática. Hi.
Hi.
So, what has been your experience and how do you relate the work that you do with trauma and sex addiction?
Yeah, no, that's a great topic. Well, I see so much within the kind of the group of the people with sexual addiction to have trauma. So they have trauma in their background, they have developmental trauma, and then there's often traumas that happen during their addiction and then even afterwards as they go through the recovery process. And, you know, sometimes family members or people at their, I've even had people at their jobs that just notice something's wrong, you know, notice that they're depressed or whatever, and there's losses. So that would be probably one of the most important topics that I think we need to bring into sex addiction is trauma.
And you mentioned something really important, like how does a person know? What does it take for them to know, oh, I have a problem, I have an addiction?
Well, most of the time when I talk to people about sex addiction, there's a piece of them that just, first of all, just kind of knows. As I say, you know, do you think this is a problem? I can get some pretty accurate answers off of that, believe it or not. Another thing is we can always go through like a checklist. Here's the kinds of behaviors. Do you relate to any of these? The other thing you want to also do is see if other people in your life have maybe some idea, anyone that knows a little bit about it. Oftentimes people with addiction are not good historians, or they're not good at telling their own case of sort of, you know, hey, this is a problem or it isn't. So sometimes it actually helps to have other people give input. And then we could say, oh yeah, that is...
Like a partner?
Yes, like a partner. And sometimes addiction happens in isolation. But there are usually people affected. So even if there's not identified people, there's people that could say, you know, something seems off, or like, you know. And so I may say, what are some symptoms that you think that other people could be seeing? And so that's usually a really helpful.
And what about the partner? How do you approach the treatment of betrayal trauma?
I'm so glad that you're asking about this, because treatment of partners is probably one of the most important aspects of this work. It's just like a lot of other addiction work. If you're not working with the family and you're not working with the people probably most affected by the problem, you're missing out on a huge opportunity, and it could actually be a complete fail in terms of we're not getting an accurate read, we're not getting the right information. Because you can do your own work in isolation as an addict, and then you go home to work with your partner or to be in relationship with your partner. They have no idea what's going on. They have no idea, like, you know, that you're trying to prove something, etc. So I think just involving the partner, my work with them is I usually get all of them to work with their own people, sometimes even their own team. And then one of the key things that we do is trauma work, because they're usually traumatized.
And what has your experience been in, so we can talk a little bit about the hope. What has your experience been seeing people recovering? I mean, sex addicts and partners.
Absolutely.
What is that like?
Yeah,
really?
Absolutely. This is one of these little talked about addictions, maybe even less talked about by partners, because it's not something like a partner would just feel comfortable saying, oh, well, my, sexually addicted partner or spouse is, relapsing, and be able to share that anywhere. So Sometimes we also don't get to hear the recovery stories and the hope. So I have many couples now that the sex addict, as I'll call them lovingly, or the person reporting sex addicted behavior, has multiple years of recovery in the program. And then for the partners, they often have the ability to just do their own whole set of processes, support group meetings, and then we have even some workbooks and things that we can help. So I've seen a lot of partners move from this state of despair into a whole process of hope. And I almost want to call it like a rebirth, right? And so I tell them the relationship that you had before might really be over. That relationship may have to end, and so we want to really form a very new relationship. And I've even seen people as couples and partners grow together now into recovery. So you hardly believe it at first, because it just seems like, how do you come back from something like that? But it's really hopeful for me to get to see so many people just making it through this process and finding recovery.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you for having me.
Espero que les haya gustado. Estamos en vivo desde Houston. Estamos en vivo desde Phoenix, Arizona. Y les iré contando más conforme vamos avanzando sobre el tema de adicción sexual, para después pasar al trauma de traición por las parejas. Un abrazote.
Adiós.